Hello guys, welcome to the Learn with Sandra show channel. I'm Alexandra and it's so good to have you back on this channel. So this space we are all about helping students excel in English examination and master everyday communication. So what do we have for today, guys? Today we are solving the English Post-UTME past question for Olabisi Onabanjo University OOU, and we're solving just 20 questions. So get your notebook and your pen ready and let's dive right into it. Question 1, we have to complete the sentence with the most appropriate word or phrase. Okay, so let's take a look at the sentence. Jubril found that thieves had entered his house in his absence. He went to the police to report the dash. So when we think of breakout, we think of escape, right? He broke out of jail. When we think of breakup, we think of relationship, right? They broke up after 3 years to end a relationship, basically. When we think of break in, it is, to enter into a place illegally or forcefully. When we say break into, it also means to enter into a place illegally or forcefully. Now, what then is the difference between the two and what is the answer? Now, aside from entering into a place illegally, break in can also mean to interrupt a conversation. For example, sorry to break in, but I have an urgent update. Okay. For break into, it can also mean to, suddenly start to do something. Or you broke into laughter. He broke into tears when I told him about the death of his father. Okay. So there's also another difference between breaking and break into. Break into cannot function as a noun, whereas break in can function as a noun. And for this question, when you take a look at the sentence, you see that we need a noun to complete the sentence, right? He went to the police to report something, the break in, and that leaves us with option C as the final answer to this question. Question 2. So we need a word to complete this sentence or a phrase, right? After the accused was found guilty by the court, his counsel dashed before sentence was passed. Okay, so when we say begged for mercy is general, it's informal, it's not the standard phrase to complete the sentence, because as you can see in this sentence we need a legal terminology, right? So this option A is just too general and very informal, right? Made a plea for mitigation. Now mitigation is a legal terminology that means to reduce the severity of one's punishment. And so this is the answer to this question. When we say made an ovation, if you know standing ovation, then you know what ovation means. It is applause, right? To give praise to someone publicly. And this is not what we need in this context, right? When we say made a plea for litigation, now litigation is also a legal terminology that means, taking a legal action. This is not the answer to this question because according to the context, the trial is already over. How do we know this? From the sentence, after the accused was found guilty by the court, the trial is already over. So we don't need to take legal action, right? We don't need litigation. What we need is the reduction of his punishment. Okay. So the best answer to this question is definitely option B. Question 3. Okay. So this question wants to test your ability to spell. Okay. So the word is trafficking and it is spelled Trafficking, and that makes option C the answer. And what does this mean? When we think of trafficking, we think of movement, and because it is a crime, we think of illegal movement. And how does this relate to currency? The illegal movement of money. Okay, so the best answer is definitely option C. 4. Gone are the days when a dash enjoy patronage. Now when we say gone are the days when, it talks about the past. That is something that happened in the past but doesn't happen now. Now we can't say will because will is future tense, right? We can't say could because it is used to talk about ability. And in this sentence, we are not looking for ability. We are looking for a word that is used to mean a repeated action in the past. So that leaves us with would and used to. Okay. So would and used to are both used to talk about past actions or past repeated action or past habitual action, right? But they are used differently. Now the question is, how are they used differently? Now let's start with would. Now would is not strictly future tense like will. Would is the past tense of will, and there are other ways we can also use would. One of which is to talk about past habitual action with time reference. Whereas used to is used to talk about past habitual action or repeated action
or state. When I mean state, I mean feeling, situation, or condition without time reference. That's the difference between would and used to. Now, if you take a look at this sentence, you see, gone are the days when. Okay, would works perfectly here because it is connected to a specific time in the past. The days when is a specific time in the past. Okay, so we could decide to remove, gone are the days when, and then we would have he used to enjoy patronage, which makes a lot of sense and it's okay. But in this sentence, would is the best answer because of the time reference. So, in summary, would equals to past habitual action with time reference. For example, back in the 1990s, my father would take us to the beach every summer holiday. Okay, you could say, when I was a child, my grandmother would bake cake every Sunday. Okay, so you can see reference to time, whereas used to equals to past habitual action without time reference. For example, I used to be shy, but I am now confident, right? Another example is I used to live in Abuja. So you can see it is without time reference. So the best answer to this question is definitely option A, would. Question 5. He did not attend the final burial dash. Now, from the options, we can see they're playing around homophones, right? Homophones are words that sound the same but have a different spelling and meaning. So, RITE and RIGHT sound the same, right? Right. But they have different spelling and they have different meaning. Now, RITE as a noun means a ceremony or a ritual, while RIGHT as a noun means something you are allowed to have or do because it is morally good and okay, right? Now that we've established the difference, now from the context we see burial, so we know it's a ceremony. So the answer is between option A and C. Now the best answer to this question is C, rites. And why is it rites with the S? Now, in the context, it is talking about the ceremony. For a ceremony, either it's a burial or a wedding, it involves several activities. And so, rites is the answer to this question. We can also say RITE, and that is used when we are talking about a specific activity. But for a ceremony, right, the answer to this question is C, rites. Question 6. The officer was compelled to dash the suspect's car. Okay, looking at the options, we can tell that this is a test on our spelling ability and our knowledge of homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but have different spelling and meaning. So option A and B can be considered as homophones, right? While C and D are misspellings of A and B respectively. Now, what is the meaning of option A, SEIZE? It means to take possession of something by force or by a legal authority. What is CEASE? Seize. It means to stop doing something. Okay, so from the context, from the sentence, we see the officer. So this represents a legal authority and it means to take something by force, SEIZE. And so that makes option A the final answer to this question. Question 7. A number of doctors are not so well disposed to dash in government hospitals these days. Dash day. Okay, so the phrase disposed to is usually followed by a gerund or a noun. Now, a gerund is a word that looks like a verb in continuous form but actually functions as a noun. Okay, so between work and working, we know that the answer is working. Okay. So next is the question tag. So we know that the statement is negative. How do we know this? A number of doctors are not. So are not makes it negative, right? So we know that the short question should be positive. And so the answer is are, right? So that makes option C the answer to this question. So note this, disposed function as an adjective, then we have the preposition to, and then we have a gerund. Other examples include he is committed to helping the poor, right? So committed is an adjective, to is a preposition, helping is a gerund. Okay. Another example is opposed to building the factory. Okay. A post is an adjective, to is the preposition, building is a gerund. So it usually follows that order. Okay, so the best answer to this question is definitely option C. Question 8. If you're going to the market, may I dash please? So option A, we have follow you. Follow you feels like someone is walking behind you, right? Come with you means accompany you, and this is the answer to this question. Come by you feels like passing near you, more like I'll come by your office later, right? Come as your second, I think of competition, right? Like second in command. So the best answer to this question is definitely option B, come with you. Question 9. Wada said that two of his chicken dash eggs yesterday morning. Now, looking at the options, I can tell that this is a test on words that are commonly misused. And these are words that are considered tricky even for native speakers of English language. Now, what am I talking about? These words are: one, lay. Lay means to put down. There's also lie, number two, which means to rest. And number three, we also have lie, which means not telling the truth. So these are the words, three of them. Now, here's a chart to help you understand the past tense, the past participle, and the present continuous form. Now that we've established this, let's go back to the question and figure out the word we need as regards to meaning. So we can see chicken, we can see eggs. So we are looking for a word that means to put down, and that is lay. Now we'll go back to the question now and figure out the tense we need. Now, according to the question, the context, we see said, so we know that we need past tense, not present tense, not past participle, because there is no have, had, and has, not even present continuous. Okay, what we need is the past tense. Now that we understand that we need the past tense, we know that the answer to this question is option C, laid. So option A, laid, it does not exist. L-A-Y-E-D does not exist. Okay, option B, lied, we don't need that. Even if it is in its past tense, the meaning is not telling the truth. Okay, we don't also need option D because one, it is in its past participle, and two, the meaning is related to resting. Okay, so the best answer to this question is definitely option C. Question 9. Thank you for the party we really dash. The best answer to this question is enjoyed ourselves. Now, compared to other options, option A sounds complete and natural. So let's talk about reflexive pronouns. Now, reflexive pronouns are pronouns that reflect self, and they are used when the subject and the object are the same. Okay, so in this context, we see we. We are both the subject and the object. People enjoying the party and having a good time. They are the same. Okay, so reflexive pronouns can be singular or plural. Singular, we have self, S-E-L-F, and for plural, we'll have selves, S-E-L-V-E-S. For example, myself, ourself, himself, yourself, itself, and then plural will have ourselves, themselves, their selves. Okay, so the best answer to this question is definitely option A, enjoyed ourselves. Question 11. So this question is under synonyms nearest in meaning. Okay, so we have to choose a word that is nearest in meaning to the underlying word, and the underlying word here is surrender. So let's take a look at the option. Give away. Now, give away means to donate. She gave away her old clothes, right? When we say give out is to distribute. For example, the teacher gave out our exam papers, right? When we say giving, giving is to surrender, but it is to surrender to pressure. For example, he finally gave in and agreed. Okay, when we say give up also means to surrender, but it's to surrender by handing over. And in the context, we see items, right? Loot, right? So the best answer to this question is definitely option D. Question 12. The discussion became animated. Now, when we look at the word animated in isolation, you might probably think of cartoons, but in context, it means, full of life, full of energy, enthusiasm. These are what we think of when we think of animated in this context. Now, when we say specialized, we're looking at focused in a particular area. When we say intellectual, we're thinking of someone with good reasoning or deep thinking. When we say unruly, it is hard to control, right? We think of, disorderly, right? So the best answer to this question is lively, because lively is one who is active or something that is active, full of life, right? So the best answer to this question is definitely option B, lively. Question 13. Rich citizens are often niggardly in their ways. Now, niggardly means lack of generosity, unwilling to spend. So, when we say beggarly, we think of poor, we think of extremely poor. When we think of sordid, it does not have anything to do with generosity, actually. It means immorality, dishonesty, or unethical. Now, when we say miserly, miserly is from the word miser and it means lack of generosity, to avoid spending, even when you can afford it, right? When we say pompous, it means arrogant. So, the best answer to this question is miserly because we're looking at what synonyms, right? Nearest in meaning. So, the best answer is definitely option C, miserly. Question 14. The musician popularity is beginning to decline. Now, decline is to decrease, right? When we say change, change is too general. Change can be positive or negative. So this is not the answer to the question. When we say wane, wane is to gradually decrease. It is also a negative word, just like, decline. So this is the answer to this question. When we say slide, slide is to move smoothly. Okay. So option C is not the answer. When we say disappear, disappear is to vanish. So the best answer to this question is definitely option B, wane. Question 15. Utaba promised to look out for her next time he is in town. Now, the underlying phrase is look out. So, when you look at this phrase in isolation or alone, it means to watch for danger or to keep your eyes open, especially in danger. Okay. Now, when you say look out for someone, it means to protect them, to take care of them, to act in their interest. And contextually, when you look at the sentence, there's promise when next in town you might want to consider take care of. Okay, but the instruction says we should choose the option nearest in meaning to the underlying phrase. It does not say, oh, replace it or choose the option that can be replaced, right? So the best answer to this question is definitely option A, watch for. Question 16. Finally, I assured him that I would not go back on my words. Now, go back on my words is an idiom that means to break a promise or to fail to do what you said you would do. Okay, and so the answer to this question is definitely option D, fail to keep my promise. Okay, option D is the final answer to this question. 17. The speaker took his audience down memory lane before he went to the topic of his lecture. Now, to take down memory lane means to make someone remember past events or reflect on past events. Okay, so option A took his audience on a journey through a street called Memory Lane. Now, memory lane as a street does not exist in this context. Okay, recalled events from the past. Now, this is the answer to the question. Okay, told a tale about a place called Memory Lane. Now, this does not exist, like I said. Gave an outline of his lecture. Now, this is not the answer. We are not talking about summary. We're talking about recalling a moment in the past. So, the best answer to this question is definitely option B. Question 18. Now, question 18 is under vowel sound, and the word is feces, right? And the sound we are looking for is E. Okay, so the sound is represented by the letter A and E in the word feces, right? So the word is transcribed F, E, S, E, and Z. Okay, so let's go to option A. We have police. Okay, so we have P, then we have the schwa sound, then we have L, E, and S. So this is the answer to this question because we have the long sound after L, right? So let's go to option B. We have pain. So we have P, A, and N. Okay. So A is a diphthong. Okay. It's not a monophthong. Okay. It's a diphthong. So option C, we have peasants. So we have P, E, Z. And we have the schwa sound, which is a very weak sound. Then we have N and T. Then option D, we have peer. So we have P and we have E. Okay, so we have peer. Okay, so the best answer to this question is definitely option A, police. Question 19. Now, question 19 is also on the vowel sound, and the word is pot, right? So letter O is underlined and it is pronounced as O. So we have P, O, and T. So we have pot. So option A, we have port. What we have in option A is the long vowel sound. The question gives us the short vowel sound. So the word contrast is usually between the short one O and the long one O. Okay, so this is not the answer to the question. So option B, we have word. So we have W, then we have and D. So this is not the answer to the question. So option C, we have correct, and it is transcribed k. Then we have the schwa sound, which is weak, and then we have we have k, and t. So option D, we have what, and it is transcribed w, o, and t. Okay, so we have what. Okay, so let me give you some word contrast for o and o, right? So we have caught, we have caught, we have pot, we have port, we have not, God, God, short, short. Okay, so if you have more examples, please share with me in the comment section. Okay, question 20. Now this question is under vowel sound, but there seems to be an error with this question, but I would still like us to address it. Okay, so the word is leopard, and eo is on the line, and it is pronounced as e. So the word is transcribed l, e, p, and then there's the schwa sound, which is very weak, and d. Okay, leopard. So option A, we have geology. We do not have S sound in geology. Okay. Option B, we have people. We do not have S sound in people. Okay. Option C, we have leaven. So leaven is transcribed l, e, v. The schwa sound and n. So we have the S sound in option C. Okay. And leaven is a substance added in dough to make it rise. So typically we think of yeast. Okay. Now the problem is with option D, lead. Okay, so lead as a verb is the past tense of lead, right? And that is, it means to guide, right? But led as a noun is usually written in capital letter or uppercase, and as a noun it means lightning. It relates to lightning, right? And this word is pronounced led. So if you transcribe, you have l, e, d, and e. Okay, so it has the S sound, so that's where the confusion is. So I have thought about it, and maybe the error is they wanted lead. Even with that, as a noun, it is pronounced lead, a metal. Lead as a metal or as a noun is lead, e, and d. Lead as a verb is lead, e, and d. Okay, so because of this confusion and dynamics with LED, I would rather go for option C as the final answer to this question. So the final answer for me to this question is option C. Let me know what you think in the comment section.
That's it, guys. We've concluded today's tutorial, and I'm sure you had an amazing time with me, right? Thank you for staying tuned. Do not forget to engage, subscribe, okay, like, share, comment. Till I see you in my next video. Bye.